I'm not the type of guy who overshares. I keep to myself, keep my circle small, and generally try to mind my own business. But after everything that's happened in the past few months, I realize silence only helps the people who lie. So here's the truth, the whole ugly, painful truth. About the woman I loved and the way she shattered everything we built. Her name is Lila. We met 7 years ago at a wedding. Not our own, obviously. It was for a friend of mine from college. Lila was the cousin of the bride. She walked in wearing a deep green dress and laughing like she didn't have a care in the world. I was instantly drawn to her. She was magnetic. Loud, bold, alive. We danced that night. We drank too much champagne. And by the end of the evening, we were sitting on the hood of someone's car talking about life, careers, childhood fears. She told me she wanted to open a boutique someday. I told her I wanted stability, a home, a dog, maybe kids. You know how sometimes people say they just know? I thought I did. And honestly, for a while, everything felt like a dream. We moved fast. Within a year, we moved in together. A year later, we were married. I was working in it, decent job, steady hours. She eventually opened that boutique Shed talked about. I helped her with the loan, co-signed everything. I was proud of her. Of us. But around the 5th year of marriage, something shifted. It wasn't like one big moment. It was subtle, little things. She started spending more time at her store. Said she had late orders or staff issues that kept her working late. At first, I didn't question it. I mean, owning a business is tough. I wanted to support her. But then there were missed calls. Secretive texting. Random laughter when she was on her phone. Then suddenly, she'd go quiet when I walked into the room. I'd say, "Hey, what's so funny?" And she'd reply, "Oh, just a meme," then change the subject. We stopped going out together. She said she was too tired. I started eating dinner alone more nights than not. And when I'd ask if everything was okay, she'd say, "Of course it is. You're imagining things." That's when I started doubting myself. I thought maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe I was just burnt out from work and imagining issues that weren't there. But something kept gnawing at me. I remember one evening specifically. She had told me she was going to a supplier dinner across town. It was storming that night, the kind of rain that floods gutters and knocks out streetlights. I decided to be thoughtful and pick her up afterward. I drove through the rain, parked across the street from the restaurant, and waited. I didn't see her. I waited for almost 45 minutes. No sign of her. I called, no answer. Then, just as I was about to leave, I saw her. But not at the restaurant. She came out of a building next to the restaurant, an apartment complex. She wasn't alone. There was a guy with her. I couldn't see much through the rain, but they were close. Laughing. She touched his arm in that way you do when you're familiar with someone. I didn't confront her that night. I don't know why. Maybe I didn't want the truth yet. Maybe part of me was still hoping there was a reasonable explanation. When she got home, soaking wet, I asked her how the dinner was. She said it was fine, boring, and she was exhausted. Then she went straight to the shower. I sat there on the couch, staring at the door. My hands were shaking. It was like my entire body knew what my mind was still trying to deny. That's when I decided I couldn't ignore it anymore. I needed the truth. I started paying attention. Every detail. Her words. Her habits. Her moods. I took mental notes, then started writing things down when she wasn't around. Where she said she was going. What she wore. How long she was gone. I didn't tell anyone. Not even my best friend, not my family. I didn't want to believe that my marriage could be falling apart. I thought, maybe I'm being irrational. Maybe I'm crossing a line. But the more I looked, the more cracks I found. And the more I realized my wife wasn't just hiding something. She was becoming someone I didn't recognize. After that night in the rain, I couldn't sleep properly. I'd wake up at 2 or 3 a.m. with this tightness in my chest, like my subconscious was screaming something my mind was still too afraid to admit. But I wasn't going to act on impulse. I needed facts. Cold, hard proof. I started by checking our shared calendar. She always entered her appointments, deliveries, staff meetings, stock orders. But I noticed something odd. She had removed almost everything from the past 2 weeks. Completely wiped out. When I asked her why the calendar was empty, she brushed it off. I moved everything to my personal planner. The online one was getting confusing. Right. So I did what I never thought I'd do. I started watching her. Not obsessively. Not like some jealous, paranoid husband. I just paid close attention. She said she had a supplier meeting at a downtown hotel on Friday. The same one she used to host vendor pop-ups. It was only 20 minutes from my office, so I just happened to have a work meeting nearby at the same time. I parked a block away, waited, and saw her arrive, but not alone. Same guy. Early 20s, dark hoodie, sunglasses even though it was cloudy. He held the door open for her. She laughed. They disappeared inside. No briefcase. No samples. No business talk. They were there for something else entirely. That night, I didn't say anything. I acted normal. Set the table, poured her wine, asked her how the meeting went. She lied to my face without flinching. It was long, but productive. I'm tired. Let's just relax tonight. She leaned over and kissed me like nothing happened. It made my skin crawl. That was when I knew I needed backup. The next day, I called my buddy Shane. We'd known each other since college. He's the kind of guy who always has a contact for something, even the shady stuff. I told him I needed someone discreet. He didn't even ask why, just gave me a number. That's how I met Elijah, a private investigator. He looked more like a math teacher than a pie. Quiet, calm, professional. He didn't blink once during our meeting. I handed him a photo of Lila, her work schedule, license plate, and told him, I don't want to ruin her life. I just want the truth. He nodded and said, you'll have it in 10 days. Those 10 days were torture. I acted like everything was fine. I hugged her good morning, texted her sweet messages, laughed at her jokes. Meanwhile, I counted every minute until Elijah called. And when he did, everything fell apart. The file he gave me was thick. Photos. Logs. Time-stamped entries. She wasn't just having an affair. It was a full-blown relationship. Multiple visits to that same apartment building. Text exchanges head pulled from open Wi-Fi networks. Her calling him baby. Talking about someday running away. But the worst part? He had a name. Tyler. And guess what? He wasn't just some random fling. He was one of her employees. A part-time assistant at her boutique. Barely 22 years old. She hired him 6 months ago. Told me he was just a kid learning the ropes. Right. They weren't just sneaking around. They were using the store as cover, late shifts that turned into sleepovers. Pop-up events that never existed. Romantic weekend getaways labeled as inventory runs. And it all happened under my nose. I felt sick. I couldn't even bring myself to look at her that night. I just went through the motions. She cooked pasta. Laughed at something on TV. Slid next to me on the couch and rested her head on my shoulder. And I just sat there, staring at the wall, with 67 photos of her cheating stuffed in a folder under the couch cushion. But I wasn't done yet. Because now I had to make a decision. Do I confront her? Do I walk out? Or do I show her exactly how it feels to be lied to? I picked the third option. I started planning a trap. Not out of revenge. Not to hurt her. But to finally make her face the truth. By the time I had the full file from the private investigator, I thought I'd feel vindicated. Or at least validated. But honestly, I just felt numb. For 7 years, I built my life around Lila. I backed her dreams, protected her, loved her, and in return, she'd been living a second life. With someone she could have legally adopted. I knew I couldn't just walk away. I needed her to see what she'd done. I needed her to understand the depth of her betrayal, not deny it, not gaslight me, not play the victim. So I made a plan. I started small. I told her I'd be going on a work trip, a cybersecurity convention 2 cities away. She didn't even ask for details. Just smiled and said, "Have fun, babe." Good. That meant she was planning something. Before I left, I made sure to set up the house. Hidden cameras. Audio recorders. One in the hallway. One in the bedroom. Another in the living room, disguised inside a smart speaker. I also synced them to my laptop so I could view the feeds remotely. I wasn't taking chances. I parked my car at the airport, rented a different one, and stayed at a friend's guest house about 20 minutes away. It was all set. That night, around 9:30 p.m., I logged into the feed. Nothing for the first 30 minutes. Then, the door unlocked. She walked in with Tyler. They were laughing, holding hands. She didn't waste any time. She poured him wine, the good kind we'd been saving. Sat on the couch. Put on music. They kissed like they lived there. And that's when I snapped. Because it was my house. My couch. My wine. And she looked happy. I took a breath and called my best friend Shane. He'd been waiting in the car outside, like we'd planned. I said, "It's time." 5 minutes later, I watched on the feed as my front door burst open. Shane walked in, holding his phone up, recording. Tyler jumped to his feet. Lila screamed. I wasn't there physically, but I had a perfect view from my screen. And the audio. Crystal clear. What the hell? Lila shouted, grabbing a blanket to cover herself. You look surprised, Shane said. Don't worry. Your husband will be watching this later. Tyler tried to talk tough. You can't just barge in here. It's not your house, kid. This is Jason's place. You're trespassing. Lila started crying. Please don't do this. You already did this, Shane cut her off. This? This is just consequences. And then came the final move. While all this chaos unfolded, I texted Lila, a smile. You're on camera. She froze when her phone buzzed. I watched her check the message. Her face went white. She looked up, straight at the hallway camera, and suddenly, she knew. The panic was instant. She screamed, grabbed her purse, and bolted out the door barefoot. Tyler chased after her. Shane followed them outside, still recording, and shouted, "Hope it was worth it." And just like that they were gone. The house was silent again. I exhaled for the first time in what felt like hours. Later that night, I returned home. Alone. The wine glasses were still on the table. Her perfume still hung in the air. But she wasn't there. Not anymore. And honestly, it felt peaceful. I sent the footage to my lawyer the next morning. Not to post online. Not to humiliate her. Just to make things legal. Irrefutable. Documented. And that's when the second storm began. Because Lila. She wasn't done. She didn't apologize. She didn't beg. She fought back. I honestly thought that after what happened that night, after I caught her red-handed, after she ran out barefoot into the street with her boy toy, it would all be over. That she'd disappear. Sign the divorce papers. Maybe even apologize. But I should have known better. Because people like Lila, they don't admit guilt. They rewrite history. The next morning, she didn't call or text me. Instead, she called my mother. I found out because Mom rang me in tears. Jason, what's going on? She said. Lila told me you had a breakdown. That you're seeing things accusing her of cheating when she was just working late. She said you've been spying on her. That you had a man break into the house and terrify her. I nearly dropped the phone. That's when it hit me. She wasn't going to fight clean. She wasn't going to play fair. She was going to play victim. And it got worse. That same day, a police officer showed up at my door. Said they had received a complaint of unlawful surveillance and domestic harassment. She was trying to flip the story. Make it look like I was the dangerous one. Luckily, I had everything documented. The camera system was legally installed. It was my home, after all. I showed the officer the proof. The footage. The timestamps. Even the lease agreement. He took notes and left, but not before warning me. She's pushing hard for a restraining order. You might want to prepare. She wanted to ruin me. And she wasn't done. Over the next week, she called my boss. Claimed I was unstable and possibly dangerous. Tried to suggest I was spiraling emotionally after our separation. My boss called me in, not to fire me, thankfully, but to express concern. Whatever's going on in your personal life, Jason, don't bring it to work. Then came the rumors. Friends of ours, or I should say, friends of hers, started cutting me off. One couple unfollowed me on social media. Another friend texted me and said, I can't be in the middle of this. I'm sorry. It was like watching your own life evaporate in slow motion. The woman who cheated on me was turning me into the monster. And the worst part? She was good at it. She'd always been charming, convincing, emotional. People believed her tears because they sounded real. But here's the thing, I had the truth. I stayed calm. I kept records. I met with my lawyer every 2 days. We filed the separation paperwork, froze our shared accounts, cancelled her credit cards. Then I got a call I didn't expect, from Tyler's girlfriend. Yes, Tyler had a girlfriend. Her name was Emma. They'd been together on and off for over 2 years. She found my number through a mutual connection and said, I know what's going on. Lila's been sleeping with my boyfriend. I just found his texts. I saw the video. I want in. We met up at a cafe 2 days later. She handed me printouts, dozens of messages between Tyler and Lila. Some from weeks ago. Some from the night after I exposed them. Lila had texted him, don't worry about him. He's just jealous. He can't prove anything. You're the only real thing in my life. And then another, if he pushes, he'll say he hurt me. That has obsessed. Everyone will believe me. I felt cold. That's when I realized, this wasn't just about betrayal. It was about control. She wasn't just trying to lie her way out, she was trying to destroy me. So I gave the texts to my lawyer. We filed a motion for emergency protective order against her this time. It worked. The judge granted it based on the messages and surveillance. She was ordered to stay away. She lost access to the house. Her keys were voided. Her boutique lease, which I co-signed, was frozen pending financial investigation. And suddenly her world began to crack. I didn't hear from her for a week. Then, one night, I got a knock at the door. It was her. Tears streaming. Makeup ruined. No shoes. She looked nothing like the woman I married. She sobbed, please, Jason, I didn't mean for it to go this far. I messed up. But we can fix this. You still love me, don't you? I didn't speak. I just stepped aside. Not to let her in, but to let the officer standing behind her do his job. She was taken in for violating the restraining order. And even then, as they led her away in handcuffs, she screamed, this isn't over. You'll regret this, Jason. You'll see. Watching her being led away in cuffs wasn't the moment of triumph I thought it would be. There was no satisfaction, no inner celebration. Just silence. Emptiness. I closed the door, leaned against it, and just stood there in the quiet. My house felt like a museum of memories, every room echoing with voices from a life that no longer existed. Photos on the wall. A pair of her heels near the doorway. The smell of the lavender candle she always lit in the evenings. But the woman I loved, she was gone long before the handcuffs. In the weeks that followed, I stayed low. Court dates came and went. Her lawyer tried every tactic imaginable: emotional instability, miscommunication, overreaction. But I had evidence. Every lie, every manipulation, documented. In writing. On video. Time-stamped. Verified. She withdrew her complaint against me. The restraining order stood. And when the judge finalized our divorce 3 months later, she didn't even show up. She lost the boutique. Turns out she'd been funneling personal expenses through the business for over a year. Fraud. Her investors pulled out. The space went up for lease. She had to move in with her sister across the state. Tyler. He vanished. Emma said he packed up and moved to another city. No goodbye. No closure. Just gone. And me. I was still standing. Bruised. Tired. But standing. The hardest part wasn't the betrayal. It was unlearning the version of her ID built in my head. Because the woman I fell in love with, the one with dreams and fire and charm, she never truly existed. Or maybe she did, once. But she changed. Or maybe she simply revealed herself. You'll never know which. For a while, I avoided people. Deleted social media. Changed my number. I started therapy. And slowly, I began rebuilding, not just my life, but myself. There were nights I couldn't sleep. Still can't, sometimes. When I wake up and for a split second forget everything, and then it all comes crashing back. But I've learned to breathe through it. To remind myself, I didn't lose her. I lost someone who never really saw me. And now, I'm still learning how to trust again. How to date without suspicion. How to believe someone's words. It's hard. But I'm healing. I no longer check over my shoulder. I no longer wonder what lie's coming next. I live quietly. Peacefully. Honestly. And sometimes, when I walk past the mirror, I actually recognize the guy staring back at me. That's something. To the viewers, have you ever loved someone who turned out to be a stranger? What would you have done if you were in my place?